Well, slow down's a relative term, right? So
Yeah.
Just because
If you're going 200 miles an hour and
doesn't mean it's slow.
You brake check to 150, you're still going pretty fast.
Have you ever done that? You brake check to one?
To 150?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, stop. I've never broken any laws in my life, Brad.
Okay. Sure.
In my life.
Good morning, everybody. Brad Johnson, Jonathan Ritchie here for another episode of the Texas Bullpen Podcast.
Woohoo!
Richie's over there hanging on by a thread.
We are living. We are live and in the flesh. It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day. It's almost a shame we're not out there doing it. We've got South by in Austin this week, so downtown is just a
mess.
A mess.
So we're going to a crawfish boil here after this.
I
recording?
know. So it just keeps getting better and better. There's a whole bunch of dirt on the streets for what's that? The
Rivian.
The off-road stuff.
Yeah.
It's very. My walks home are always so interesting now. There's all these odd characters about.
Even more so than
more so than normal, So, but another lovely little week. I think things have kind of, I don't know if slowed down is the right word to use, but after the action-packed week following the election, I think people are settling back into a certain little rhythm.
Yeah. Well, slow down's a relative term, right? So
yeah.
Just because
if you're going 200 miles an hour. And
doesn't mean it's slow.
You brake check to 150, you're still going pretty fast.
Have you ever done that? You brake check to
150?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, stop. I've never broken any laws in my life, Brad.
Okay. Sure.
In my life.
Interesting.
Ever.
I don't know if I believe that. Update, we are making progress on the Waffle House Challenge.
Yes.
Rest assured it will happen.
Oh,
We've had
been
conversations this week.
Top-level meetings, and we are planning some of the most devious, wonderful, spectacular show on earth, really. So I'm very excited. Brad, how are you feeling?
I am waiting with bated breath to stuff my face with waffles.
Yeah. Have you started practicing yet? Do you have a training regimen?
What, expanding my stomach?
Yeah. Well, I mean, those professional eaters and things that. There's all these little tricks that they have to help them. There was this one who would eat massive amounts of spinach and things like that beforehand, huge amounts. I'm not talking about Popeye the Sailor or anything. It's because it would expand their stomach, but it would digest easily and you'd have all that room, but you'd have an expanded stomach, and then you could come in with the heavy stuff and handle it better and get more of it down. So
I don't think I'm gonna take it that seriously, but hey, maybe that means I have to sit in a Waffle House longer than I otherwise would.
Yeah, that's true. And you might have to anyways because so many people want to come and talk to you while you're there. So
yeah. If you are someone who wants to come spend a short amount of time with me at the Waffle House, eating a waffle, we were going to do interviews, make a big thing out of this. So
it'll be fun. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That makes one of us.
I'll sympathetically eat some waffles with you.
Okay. Maybe we'll just do a live recording of the podcast while in the Waffle House.
Yeah.
I think we should do that. Yeah.
I think so.
Well, with that aside, let's get to some topics that have happened in this slower week, but luckily not slow enough that we have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't been boring.
I think the biggest thing has been the filibuster, the U.S. Senate race, the implications there. Walk us through this whole debate and fight over this long-held Senate rule.
Yeah, well, really it circles around trying to...
Circles around?
Yeah.
Is that a term?
Yeah, it circles around.
Okay. All right, sorry.
I mean, that's out of all the things that I missay, I feel like that's one
Misstate.
Missay is also a word, Brad.
Sorry.
This is too early for me to be this sassy.
Go for it.
I just got out of bed for this. for this, Brad, for you.
Anyway, you were saying.
Anyways, it all deals with this proxy fight over the Save America Act, which the president has made a top priority.
And what is that?
So the Save America Act is it does a lot of different things, but primarily it is a voter integrity bill that would require proof of citizenship when you register to vote. And so, proponents say it's necessary to ensure that illegal aliens aren't voting in elections, or people who are otherwise not qualified to vote in our elections. Detractors, opponents of it say that the rules are set up that it would cast, millions of eligible voters off the rolls, things of that nature, and make it prohibitively difficult for people to cast their ballots and suppress the vote. So there's all of those, usual things about it, but it's become kind of the focal point in proxy fight over the Texas Senate race, and specifically Donald Trump's endorsement in that, because I think we discussed last week, after Cornyn's overperformance in the primary, it really looked like Trump was going to imminently endorse Cornyn and ask Attorney General Paxton to drop out.
And the reporting was that he was about to do that. It was imminent until it wasn't.
Paxton first went on interviews and said, look, even if the president endorses Cornyn, I'm not going to drop out. And then he offered a trade. If the Senate nuked the filibuster and passed the SAVE Act, he would consider dropping out. And of course, this puts
emphasis on
consider. But this obviously gave Trump a leverage tool to use in the Senate, because Senate Majority Leader John Thune has been very vocally advocating and lobbying for Trump to endorse Cornyn for a long time, very openly. And obviously, the SAVE Act has not advanced through the Senate, largely because of the 60-vote requirement to get something to the floor. And that's known as the filibuster. And in the past, you had what's called the talking filibuster, where we all remember, like, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and things like that, where you actually had to talk.
Ted Cruz.
Well,
didn't he read Green Eggs and Ham on the floor? Yeah.
But now they can just have this 60-vote threshold, so they don't have to, talk all the time, which, I guess is, good for them. But so there's been a lot of discussion and hand-wringing and debate. Debate.
Yeah. You all right?
Yeah, I know. Haven't been coughing, and as soon as we start talking, I'm like, let me just scarf down some coffee here.
So the purpose of the filibuster is it's a supermajoritarian rule where you have a minority able to block certain legislation for as long as they can keep up talking. That's the talking filibuster. The purpose of that, of course, is a check on a simple majority. If you don't have enough support to get something to 60 votes, then you aren't able to bring it to the floor. That is a fashion of the Senate and has been for a long time. The argument behind it, of course, is that it is a check on both the House and the majority in the Senate. So it's been a long-held thing. Democrats have tried to get rid of it a couple years ago. That was when the whole brouhaha with Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema happened. I think it was
Manchin, who is now figuring a little bit in this as well, as we'll get to.
And I believe when they tried to do it last time, it was also an election-related bill, correct? When the Democrats tried to do this, try to get rid of it?
Perhaps, I don't recall.
I think it was, yeah. So some symmetry there. Yeah. But it, of course, rankles the party in the majority if they can't get that line when they want to pass something that they deem important, and that's where Republicans are right now.
And it's definitely, there are people in the Senate in both parties who could be called like institutionalists,
Yes.
people who want to preserve the rules, the traditions, the functions there. And I think there's a lot of pushback on it. And Cornyn, going back to how this implicates Texas, has for a long time been more of that on that institutionalist side of things. And so when Paxton offers this trade, it's very much a like, it's a pretty good bet that Cornyn wasn't immediately going to be like, well, of course, because his track record has been typically very hesitant to make, those types of rule changes.
I think it's fair to say the only reason he's come out as strongly as he has since then is because he's facing a really difficult primary.
And even as strongly as he has is a little bit. So what happened this week? We'll get to it. We've laid out the filibuster. Cornyn comes out with a op-ed saying not explicitly that he would nuke the filibuster, but that passing the SAVE Act is more important than the filibuster, and that, he'd be open to reforming some of the rules in order to get that over the line because it's such an important piece of legislation. And then, as he is walking through, the halls of the Capitol, reporters start asking him about it, and it's very clear he does not want to talk about this op-ed that he just published. They start asking about his change on it and if he changed his stance on it in order to get the president's endorsement. And he throws up his hand in the camera and says, go away. We're done here. And then later he's talking, and he then, to a different reporter, and this is like maybe later in the afternoon, is much more clear on like, yes, we should get rid of the filibuster to pass the SAVE Act stuff. So there was a lot of seemingly, I don't know if maybe back and forth would be the right thing to say, but a lot of teetering on where exactly is his thinking on this. And of course, does it actually matter where Cornyn falls on it? Because he's just one vote in the Senate, and Thune still doesn't think that the SAVE Act has the votes to pass. Now
to get past the filibuster.
And
really, the votes aren't there to get rid of the filibuster.
Yeah.
The SAVE Act probably has the votes to pass, but it's a slim majority for Republicans.
And what it sounds like is that they're going to bring it to the floor, which means they'll get a vote on, I guess, we're not parliamentarians of the U.S. Senate. D.C. is far away. But I think the form that they're going to do is basically what's called like a messaging vote. So they're going to bring it up, even though Thune knows that they're not going to have the votes to get to 60 on it, but at least it'll have everybody on the record, and that helps his caucus to be like, look, we voted for this, and then it also allows them to go back and attack Democrats on it. I'm like, why didn't you vote against X, Y, Z thing? Even though they know it's not going to have enough support to get over whichever threshold they have to overcome. And it'll allow Cornyn to go to the president and be like, look, I voted for it. I did what I could. But it's definitely been, a week of intrigue with, all the different camps pulling their strings, trying to get, one, the president's attention, and then two, the president's good attention. There's a lot of irons in the fire for these candidates.
And, I guess last thing I'll say on the filibuster is that this is always the case. The majority hates the filibuster. The minority loves the filibuster. Yeah. And that oscillates between who's in power, who's holding the Senate, who controls things. And it's a tool used by the minority to great effect sometimes. But we've also seen in the past these things come back to bite the majority that makes the rule change. For example, when Harry Reid dropped I think this was a rules change, but he dropped the number of Senate votes required to confirm lower court judges from, I believe it was 60 down to a simple majority 51. Mitch McConnell told him, "You're going to regret this one day." And then Mitch McConnell turns around and uses the nuclear option, as they called it back then, to allow a simple majority of Republicans in the Senate to confirm Supreme Court justices. So, the institutionalists are warning about setting certain precedent. The people that don't care about that as much believe that this bill is a must pass and is more important, as Cornyn has since stated, say that it's more important than the rule itself. And so you have these two competing mindsets that are never going to overlap. It's just a question of which one wins out numbers wise. And so far, however many of the institutionalists there are, they're winning this. And there's no sign of getting rid of the filibuster at the moment.
Which probably bodes poorly for Cornyn's chances of securing the Trump endorsement.
If it is indeed contingent on
If it isn't
passage.
contingent. And, Trump has not openly said anything to be like, I will, absolutely not give my endorsement unless this passes. But he's said things that kind of suggest that that's where his thinking is right now. And there's been reporting out of D.C. that suggests that he is tying it to the SAVE Act.
But that could change as soon as it becomes clear that the SAVE Act is not passing.
Yeah, and it could change for any number of reasons too, right? The calculus is a daily thing, and we have no idea what will happen next. Nobody does, and we don't know what new battlefront, so to say, is going to open up tomorrow on trying to earn this endorsement. And but it has to happen quickly if the other person would drop out, because the clock is ticking on when a candidate can withdraw from a runoff.
Yeah.
But
it would be interesting, just from a pure curiosity perspective, to see this play out. Paxton drops from the ballot, or drops out of the race, but doesn't drop from the ballot because he's past the deadline, and then to see how many votes he gets anyway, even though he's not officially running. That would be really fascinating to see the hard floor that he has electorally. That's not going to happen. At least I highly doubt it. But that pops in my mind as something to be interesting.
Yeah,
I think
there are a lot of counterfactuals that I think will be fun to consider as the clock keeps ticking on this. But
let's move on to another topic. Lina Hidalgo, Harris County judge, had a bit of a rough week. I think that's a bit of an understatement, but she was kicked out of the Houston Rodeo. Massive event every year. I've not yet to go. I need to someday.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a rodeo?
No, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like every week you find some new creative way to make me absolutely hate you. You've never been to a rodeo? Are you kidding me?
I don't think so, no.
Oh my gosh. All right. We're going to find something to gamble on legally. And the next bet will be going to Fort Worth to go to the Fort Worth Rodeo, the only weekly indoor professional rodeo, every Friday, Saturday night. Bronc busting, tie down, bull riding, barrel racing, the whole shebang. It's phenomenal. And we're going to go. We're going to document your first rodeo.
Oh, my gosh.
We're going to get you some boots because you don't have any cowboy boots, right?
Not at the moment.
And we're going to get you a little cowboy hat. We're going to get you a
little one?
Yeah, just a little one. Well, you're a little guy, Brad. You're a little guy. And we're going to fully, I guess, initiate you into this Texas thing. I mean, good God, man. You run a company called Texas Bullpen and you've never been to a rodeo? This is unbelievable. No, I'm just shocked. I'm appalled. I'm a little
At
scared.
this point, I should have just lied and said,
Yeah, you
Yeah,
should
yeah,
have. You should have. This is going to be my. I'm going to start that attack pack and run ads against you. Fake Brad Johnson. Just never been inside of a rodeo. Doesn't even know what a bullpen is.
You do it in that voice too?
Yeah, whatever the voice is. I don't know. Do the voice of God
voice
from
of God.
that.
From the Cornyn ad. I don't know if y'all saw this, but
Oh my gosh.
this was just so hilariously zany of an ad. It Cornyn releases his first ad attacking Ken Paxton of the runoff. It is up on TV right now, so you'll probably see it. And it runs through, the long-held allegations of impropriety against the Attorney General, and in each one, it has the voice of God coming in and saying, like they talk about the affair, and they say, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." And they go through like 3 of them. I got more texts about that than even the Waffle House challenge thing. Like, people were just this thing struck a chord. I don't know if it's a good chord or not. We'll see how it affects the voters. But it struck a chord in this community.
People are
the
definitely
insider belt.
Yeah, it was something to behold.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
So
anyway.
yeah, I am going to take an ad just like that against you for being a fake Texas person.
Okay.
Fake Texan.
Well, I look forward to see how you raise the money for that attack pack. Good luck with that.
Hi, everyone. We'd like to thank the sponsor of today's podcast, the Lowy Law Firm. For over 20 years, Adam Lowy has helped injured Texans recover and heal. From car accidents to dog bites, Adam Lowy is there to help and gets results. Go to loweylawfirm.com to find out more and get a free consultation. Adam, of course, is very well known on Twitter for his commentary and observations on Texas politics, so be sure to give him a follow as well. Thanks to our sponsor, the Lowy Law Firm. Yeah. The fact that you kind of were snarky with me right there makes me want to actually do it.
Do it.
Yeah, I might. Yeah,
Okay.
you know what?
Go create a tech pack right now with the Secretary of State after this podcast.
I'm gonna walk out mid podcast and make it. You're gonna walk out that door and there will be digital up. There will be mailers. You're going down.
Okay.
No, but we will take you to a rodeo. That's actually so sad. It really is sad for you. And then right across the street from the Fort Worth Rodeo is a bar called Second Rodeo, because at that point it's not your first rodeo, but this is your first rodeo. This is amazing. Wow. We will make this happen, dear listeners.
You're really promising a lot here.
Well, no, I mean, it is. You need to for your education. It will be edifying for you.
Okay.
But hopefully you don't get kicked out of the rodeo like Lina Hidalgo did, because and it's become just this absolute drama fest down there, because she, on the 10th, I believe, she gets on social media and in some now deleted posts alleges that the Houston Rodeo security, quote, manhandled her and kept her from going to her seats with her guests, which included some of her, I think, friends' children, to go to like this Megan Maloney concert. And she accuses the rodeo of racism and sexism, saying she's never felt so unempowered as a woman because she was denied access to like the dirt area seating,
the
or the shoe,
area,
like
right?
the really good seats, and claimed that her role as Harris County judge enables her to some of these privileges at the rodeo, because she's we'll get to that too, was technically like one of the honorary directors of the rodeo because of her elected position, and noted that in the past she's been allowed into these areas and stuff. And then she shares, audio recordings of the encounter where the security is very much like, "Ma'am, sorry, you can't come in here. It's time for you to go." And
Also, I believe she had a box with her guests, right?
So we'll get to this.
Okay.
So anyway, she goes off on the rodeo. She sends a letter rehashing these things to the chairwoman of the board of directors and the CEO of the rodeo, and just absolutely has this blow up on them. And then the rodeo sends back a pretty lengthy letter laying out that over the course of Lina Hidalgo's time in office, they have comped her over $9,000 worth of tickets over the years for her and her guests to go and sit at these sections known as like the shoot tickets, which are over like where the chutes where the animals come out and stuff, or dirt floor tickets and stuff like that, which I think this round go for like $425 or whatever. But they also explained that Hidalgo had reached out the day of to get access and get comped to these tickets, but the show was already sold out. So what they did and they communicated this, they say to her staff and to her, is like set her up in a suite ticket, which is not bad at all. So they're trying to be accommodating allegedly, and but despite that, she still tried to go into these other areas where paying customers had already bought out everything, and they definitely did not hold back in their response to Hidalgo, and then they stripped her of her honorary director title, and released all of this, and then Hidalgo went back to the rodeo to review security footage of it.
I believe with a camera crew.
With a camera crew, allegedly. And, she came out and gave a very disjointed and interesting kind of news conference afterwards where she's reading off of her phone. And
didn't look very good.
Did not look very good. It was not a good look for... And she's, not running for re-election. She... is finishing out her second term as Harris County judge, and it has been really a source of drama down there for a long time. There's just been a lot of personal, I think, disagreements, even within her own party, especially on the commissioner's court. I mean, it's every couple of months you hear some kind of story of her storming out of a meeting or things like that. So she's been a interesting figure to watch because when she got in, she was like 27, I think, when she was elected to Harris County judge, the largest county in Texas. I mean, really powerful position. And the county judge in 2018
on the beta wave, she was one of the people that flipped a seat, especially in Harris County.
Because that was a Republican-held one. And the county judges are, the kind of top chief executive of the counties. It's an administrative role. They have a very important thing. And obviously during COVID, when there's an emergency situation, the county judges have even more authority. So she was
not just a county judge, but county judge for the largest county in the state.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a nothing position. And she was very much touted both in Texas circles and in national circles as like a rising star of the Democrat Party.
Vogue did a glowing profile of her as the next great hope for Democrats in flipping Texas.
And then it just crashed and burned pretty dramatically. And so this is another little, I guess, episode here on it. And we'll see. I mean, I'm sure this is not the end of what's going to be said about that.
Well, she's got about a year left in her term, a little less than a year at this point. So there's plenty of time for her to cause more drama. And like you said, I'm sure it's going to happen again.
Yeah. But it definitely seems like the rodeo came out on top this time.
I think they're just sick of her.
Yeah. And something else that the rodeo highlighted was that this season, no other Harris County or Houston officials asked for tickets or anything. So it's kind of something that's unique to Hidalgo of asking for these tickets and indeed even demanding them, the rodeo said. So they definitely like kind of called her out pretty blatantly and they didn't say like, oh, you were abusing your office and stuff, but they were like Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and it's not new or unheard of for elected officials to get perks like this.
Yeah.
But it's pretty telling if she was the only one to request this kind of thing.
And of course,
in
like,
this instance.
The county has a big role in making the rodeo a success, the licensing, the leases on these things, security, stuff like that. So, it's not like, oh, it's just this random elected official is demanding to go. Like, there is a lot of work that has to happen in order to make these massive events smooth and stuff
and
like that.
A lot of cost.
And a lot of cost and things like that. And it's a huge driver for, like taxes for the local entities and stuff like that. So, but it's been a very funny little incident to monitor. Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that word, brouhaha.
I do.
I
feel
feel
like favorite.
I feel like I had never heard anybody say that
You
before.
like things of that nature quite a bit.
Things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it twice on the podcast already, I believe.
Yeah, well, that was just your second brouhaha.
Yeah.
Where did you
Look at
hear
us.
that? Where did that come from?
The word?
Yeah.
It's a long...
I mean, I know words have been around for a long time,
Yeah.
but like, when did you encounter the word?
I don't know.
Is it
I
just...
have no idea.
Do you know, like, the etymology
Just
of the
been in
word?
the one. I don't. I just know it's a word.
That's good.
And it has a definition.
It's many
And
such cases.
It fits in a lot of... especially in the stuff we cover, it fits.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
people are always brouhahaing.
Yeah. That. Speaking of another brewing brouhaha.
I don't know if I like the word. That's my... I'm not sure if I'm big on brouhaha stock.
Okay. Well,
Brouhaha futures.
somebody's got to be.
Somebody's
so I
got
guess,
to. Yeah.
I'll buy low at this point and sell high.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
You know who else is trying to buy low and sell high? Sports bettors.
Sports bettors.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
By the way, did you finish reading that McKay Coppins piece on...
I never even started.
Oh.
But it
So,
looks... So I
was-
didn't do it because I was afraid that it would inspire me to bad actions.
Does actually the opposite.
Yeah.
It is.
Well,
So-
I find that a lot of things that try to teach me a lesson, I walk away with the wrong
I'm
impression.
shocked. I'm shocked to hear that.
I know, you especially.
So
Tell us about it.
McKay Coppins is a writer for The Atlantic. He released a piece this week. I think it was. It's called "My Year as a Degenerate Sports Gambler."
Phenomenal.
The premise was,
You have my attention, sir.
yeah, right. The Atlantic gave him $10,000 to bet on sports, and the premise was to experience what it's like, to know why.
People get so wrapped
So-
up
so,
in this,
yes.
and there's so much concern in like, because
Yeah.
like sports betting is technically illegal in Texas,
It is, yeah.
and which none of us have ever bet on sports at all, and
Does fantasy football count on that?
that's not a sport.
Okay. So
Sorry,
Coppins also
sorry to have so much disdain in my voice on that.
also important to this story is that Coppins is a Mormon. And so
Oh,
it is.
really?
Yes, this is very. You would have learned that if you
I'm sorry, man.
had read the piece that I sent you.
I have a lot of things to read.
Oh yeah. Okay. But it goes through. He goes through week by week his experience, and there's some pretty wild stories, and basically talks about how he got hooked on this stuff. And he's not a very. He's a Mormon. He doesn't have any vices other than, I don't know, non-caffeine. Not uncaffeinated coffee. I don't know what he doesn't have. His persona
Well known
is-
for not being
yes.
people addicted to things.
Yes, and there's one scene where he goes and asks his, I don't know if they call it a deacon or what, but if this is running afoul of God to do this experiment, and the Latter-day Saints priest or whatever warns him, says probably not, since you're using someone else's money. But be careful, because this stuff is addictive, and it sure enough is. And I recommend, if you're interested in this, go read the piece. That leads us into
This great idea I
fortuitously.
just had for a story. You should, the company should give me just a little penance to go down to the only casino in Texas and just see what it's like, you know.
Have you ever been in a casino?
I have been in a casino
Okay.
because I am not a big gambler or better. But yeah, no, I've been to Vegas. And,
I don't either because I know it's addictive.
yeah,
And
my problem is I struggle with numbers, and very simple addition is at times difficult for me, and it all moves so quick. I can't add up what like cards I have.
Yeah. Well, with this, what Coppins was doing was the online apps, the like DraftKings, and placing moneyline bets on
Who's
an
gonna
unfolding
win what
game.
thing. Yeah.
We see something like that in Texas right now, Kalshi, which is kind of this. We might have talked about this on
It's
like
like
the
this
first
legally
podcast.
grayish because you're not actually voting on it. You're voting on like predictions of it or futures or whatever.
It's like trading stocks.
Yeah.
You're trading futures. In the futures are on outcomes. For example, do the New England Patriots get their butts beat in the Super Bowl? You know, you can trade or does Steve Toth beat Dan Crenshaw? I know some people that made some good money on that wager. So it's kind of an end around because it's associated with falls under the purview of the SEC, not the Southeastern Conference, the Securities and Exchange Commission. And that's how it gets around the state's anti-gambling law. But that brings us to this sports betting industry generally. They have lobbyists, DraftKings. Well, there's a whole sports betting alliance, and it's just basically all of them: BetMGM, DraftKings, FanDuel, a few others, and they've been trying, along with the casino guys, to legalize sports betting. And I think that was the constitutional amendment that actually passed in the House in 23, went to the Senate, just went nowhere, died. Since then, the sports betting guys have been fairly quiet if we're going to compare them to the casino ones. Las Vegas Sands, we talked about this, has a massive political operation. They've spent millions of dollars trying to elect friendly, particularly Republicans, and it's not been successful so far. They've of course got their allies in the legislature, and they've won some races, but a lot of the big ones, for example, SD9, they lost. John Huffman lost that race. Well, so did Lee Wamsgans. We'll see how that goes in November. But that was a big gambling proxy fight. But what I discovered over the last weekend, was that
this was all you. You discovered this
me.
was
Yeah.
good old-fashioned investigative Brad.
And you would have
journalism.
read this in Daily Bolt if you were subscribed. So
If you haven't
remind-
subscribed,
go
you need to,
subscribe.
because otherwise you're missing good ball knowing happening.
Yes. So I found a paper trail of money leading back to sports gambling, specifically here, DraftKings. There was this group called the Texas Conservative Fund that sent mailers and I believe text messages into a bunch of different House races, most of which were incumbents, but not all of them. And if you follow the paper trail, which I call it the Russian nesting doll of this operation, because it was like, there's the Texas Conservative Fund, which was seeded money by some other nebulously named group, which was seeded money by some other nebulously named group, and eventually it leads to DK Crown Holdings. So what this means is DraftKings and probably others as well, and I was told that this is not just a Texas operation. There are similar mechanisms and machines starting up in other states for this stuff. But they're starting to get involved the way Sands has, and spending money on behalf of candidates to get more allies in the legislature. Pretty typical. A lot of lobby interests do this.
How the game is played.
Yes. I think the amount of money that was spent in this primary, it was all Republicans, if I recall correctly. It was like $2.6 million. I actually had a member complain to me about it. I asked him, "Did you see any of this come into your district?" He's like, "Yeah, I wish their mailers weren't very good, so I wish they would not have done this." That was just their opinion, but it is interesting to me that they are realizing, we kind of need to gain some ground politically, not just legislatively, in the form of lobbying. Yeah. They're starting up their own operation. So that leads us to what happens next session. A lot's going to depend on the election. If Democrats really gain a lot of ground in the state, those are generally more favorable members to expanded gambling, and so maybe it has new life, both casino and sports betting going into next year. But I can also tell you there's going to be an effort to further curtail this the gambling issue in the form of setting restrictions on Kalshi and that kind of betting apparatus that has found an end around the state's prohibition. So there's a big tug of war going on,
and even potentially, because it's still an open legal question whether or not that prediction market stuff is legal, or it might be illegal. It just hasn't been tested yet, and there's definitely been a lot of lobbying and efforts to have certain legal opinions written, either endorsing it or coming against it and stuff like that. But there just hasn't been an official position taken on whether that is. So it's still kind of a gray area, just like, card houses in Texas are a gray area. And, there was one raided earlier this week up in Round Rock. And there are card houses across Texas because Texas law, prohibits gambling and poker games unless it's, in a private place and there isn't like a house getting money. So like you and I, we could have a friendly poker game or whatever. But if we made a company for it, blah, 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 like that would be illegal. But these card houses get around it by making themselves like private clubs and then making their money off the memberships.
Not the winnings.
And not the winnings. They don't take any percentage from the winnings, allegedly. But the TABC raided this card house earlier this week as a part of an investigation into potential money laundering and illegal gambling and stuff like that. So, and all that's still no charge has been filed or anything. But there's just this general kind of uncertainty about the legal status of some of these fringe gambling operations and things like that. And there are, like some of the Indian tribes have like massive bingo operations out in East Texas. There is a casino down outside of Eagle Pass on a reservation and stuff like that. So, but it's all this kind of interesting fringe legal area that people are dancing in, but the tune's pretty uncertain at times.
Yeah. And with the legislature only meeting, usually 5 months not even usually anymore, regularly meeting 5 months every 2 years, this is one of those issues that has boiled up as the legislature might need to do something about this, because they hadn't thought about it before. Not really. Not to the extent they are now. Yeah. And it's going to be fascinating to watch how the lobby arms of these competing factions, the casinos, the sports betting, and this prediction market stuff, how do they approach this? Do the casino guys and the sports betting alliance, do they support the teaming effort to go after Kalshi? Or do they all link arms together and say we're all on this gambling boat? There's some real irritation that for all the money that Las Vegas Sands has spent, or any of these pro gambling operations, that they don't get to operate in this state, but Kalshi does.
Yeah.
And it's still betting on, it's not game of chance, but it's still chance because you're betting on these outcomes that you don't know which way it's going to go. So
It's almost a gamble.
it's almost a gamble.
Yeah.
So I would be irritated too if I were an industry looking to expand in this state or be legalized in this state, and be like, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting because you have neighboring states lobbying against the legalization of it because, the casinos up in Oklahoma and out in Louisiana don't want Texas to get it because, it kills their business. People, I remember, growing up, people would run out and over the Sabine River and, bet and gamble and stuff like that. And it was the thing to do. But if you live out like in West Texas, like there's not one to go to, whatever.
Not just out of state, but also the Indian tribes, because they are allowed to, they have these exceptions like the Kickapoos. They have the casino.
Yeah, they're
the
the one
right?
out by Eagle Pass.
But there's that aspect of this as well where
we should go.
We should go.
Yeah, we should go.
Do a Hunter Thompson-esque report on how much money we lose.
we should do it. It'd be fun.
Yeah. Okay, I like that idea. We might find some room in the budget for that.
Yeah.
Do a McKay Coppins type. We're not doing $10,000.
No. Maybe for we'll set a number. We'll take a line bet on how many waffles you end up eating, and we'll just keep snowballing these kind of like quirked up things we do until one day we're going to I don't know, across the world to some Texas themed whatever. I don't know. We'll find some crazy.
There's a Texas themed bar in Japan.
I know. There was when I was in Ireland, there was this restaurant called Paris, Texas, named after the town, but kind of inspired by the Paris, Texas movie. That very kind of artsy, famous one. And it was so funny, being the Texan there. They obviously realized I wasn't Irish, and asked me where I was from. I'm from Texas and stuff. It was horrible. It was terrible. It was like, this is what you guys think we eat?
We got one more topic to talk about, but I just got a text from a staffer friend about getting her boss on the Waffle House list.
Heck yeah.
So,
let's go.
I also just saw that Lone Star Liberty PAC, Paxton's Super PAC, just made an ad buy in West Palm Beach. So they're going to air an ad for an audience of one.
Yeah. Obviously
the president. We'll see if we find the ad. I'm sure it'll pop up on Ad Impact here soon, but some strategery there. Some other strategery that's happening and that is also going to lead to a massive fight next session is on data centers. And you wrote a bit about this week. I did as well.
You wrote a bit about it.
Yeah. Let's give us an overview of what you're seeing on the ground right now. Then we'll talk about the political side.
Yeah.
Of this.
So, there is a very much hot war that's breaking out over data centers and data center development because they have very much, Texas prides itself about being kind of open for business, low regulation, easy build, easy to develop. The state level stuff. Greg Abbott has made a big point of this, and it's brought in a lot of businesses that have been relocating to Texas from all sorts of industries. But Texas also has been trying to maneuver and position themselves to be on the forefront of this AI boom, and a big part of that in the support infrastructure for AI are data centers because it takes a lot of processing power and things of that nature. And, data mining and things of that nature for cryptocurrency also use these things. And really anything uses this because it just stores all of these, ones and zeros, all the black magic that is technology. I'm just a simple caveman. I don't know. But they take an enormous amount of energy and they take a lot of water. And a lot of these developments co-develop with a power plant on there so that they can get plugged into the grid faster and stuff like that. But the water is a massive issue, and these things have run into a lot of resistance and outrage in rural areas. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of data centers are in cities. Dallas has a ton of them.
You don't even really see them.
You don't even really see them because it blocks, just kind of blends in, and they're very loud too. But that stuff doesn't matter as much if it's already in a massive city. It's already loud. You already can't see the stars, and you already have like a lot of energy and infrastructure for delivering water and stuff like that. But if you're trying to build it out in West Texas or in a rural area where land is cheap and the development costs might be less, it's way more noticeable, and then it puts a much bigger strain on that local infrastructure. And so a lot of local opposition has started to crop up. But what's kind of the issue is that these county commissioner courts don't necessarily have an ability and this is what one of the fights is, do they or do they not have an ability to put a moratorium or a pause on this type of development while they do studies on how do we get this water, how do we provide this, how do we balance the kind of rights of the local citizenry and the emphasis and desire to develop and get that economic boosts and stuff like that. So all across the state, these counties are having meetings right now where, hundreds of citizens come up and speak against it. And then, oftentimes the court just kind of has to throw their hands up because they don't want to be sued or investigated or things of that nature. And we have state level leaders or lawmakers. Paul Betancourt and I think Jared Patterson sent a letter to Attorney General Paxton asking him to investigate any of these counties that try to put a moratorium on data center development.
I think the onus for that one was Hood County, right?
That was Hood County, because they had considered one, and then they had voted it down, but then they put it back on the agenda because Van Zant County did actually pass a moratorium. And Hood County voted it down again by a very close 2-3 vote. But a lot of these county attorneys have started requesting legal opinions from the AG's office about whether or not there are ways to put a pause on this development. Out in Brazoria County earlier this week, the county commissioners voted unanimously to reject an application for a tax break for data center development. Now, that doesn't stop the development, but it certainly doesn't incentivize it, because typically when industries are moving into these cities and counties, oftentimes they will be able to get some certain tax breaks in order to jumpstart development, because the idea is that it's better long-term for the county to give a deal up front so that they establish here and bring jobs and add to the tax base and stuff.
And I believe, so the local ones are Chapter 312. I think that's either city or county that can issue those tax abatements to businesses like this looking to locate. I think, if I recall correctly, it's a percentage in 312. There was a huge legislative fight 2 sessions ago on Chapter 313, which I don't think we saw this data center boom happen yet. And so I don't know if there were any projects that were given Chapter 313 abatements, but under the revamp of that, which is the JEDI Act, I don't think data centers count. You can't give these school district abatements, which were so prolific under 313, to data centers yet, if I recall correctly. So that's another thing to watch legislatively. Does that expand to enable these? But anyway, sorry, continue.
So it's just becoming a very hot topic, and it's not breaking down over partisan lines. We have Republicans, we have Democratic groups that oppose these, and we just really don't know how it's going to shake out yet. But it's definitely a lot of rural concern over being forced to take certain types of development things. And then obviously just the water issue overall is something that is hanging heavy over Texas right now. There's obviously the big
brouhaha.
I know.
In Corpus Christi.
Yeah, I said.
Gotcha.
Gosh, you're so mean today. Yeah, there's obviously the Corpus Christi situation, and it's just, we see these aquifers and reservoirs across the state continue to go down as development continues to happen. And all that takes water, and as people move to Texas, that takes water, and as industry comes here, it takes water too. How does Texas handle that is going to be a big question that comes up. I think there might even be some interim hearings on this as well down the line, is what I've heard. And it is probably one of the biggest, I think, questions that we're going to have to be looking at, because it plays a factor in so many different things.
So undoubtedly there will be hearings on this at some point in some fashion. I think we already had an initial hearing on the water issue itself. I'm sure the Corpus situation will spark its own. But there's been talk about a specific committee being established on data center growth. And I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen, because this is such a big issue. But I've heard a lot of questioning whether that's actually a real development at this point, whether there is something in the mix to create a new committee. And I've heard it from both chambers, members in both chambers, that they haven't heard anything about this, not yet at least. And so maybe that develops, maybe it doesn't. For sure, though, once we get to session, this will be a topic that is addressed in some form or fashion.
And we're starting to see, again, the political apparatus of pro-AI, pro-data centers getting involved in Texas politics. We talked about, the Meta PAC I think we have. And
we saw a lot of money from a couple different groups being put into congressional seats in the state. Chris Gober, Jessica Steinman, both got, I think Mark Teixeira as well, got support in their primaries from some pro-AI PACs. So,
because that could be the end run over all of this local state stuff, because Trump is very much pro-AI development, pro-data centers. And if you get a federal law through that, supplants state opposition to it, that could be an end run play there as well for them. But
we also saw the Meta PAC, I think it's called Forge the Future Project PAC. We also saw them play in some of these legislative races.
A lot of House districts, a lot of Senate districts.
In fourth reading, I listed out a lot of them, and I forget the exact amount of money that was put in. I think it was over $1 million, spread out over, let's say 10 to 12 races. But something interesting I noticed in these races they got involved in, a large chunk of them are rural. Either rural exclusive members like SD3, Trent Ashby, that is a pretty much entirely rural district, or members whose districts are anchored in rural areas that might extend into the suburbs of a larger city. As you talked about, the groundswell of opposition to these things is largely happening in rural areas, because that's where a lot of these are looking to locate. Meta is dumping, let's say, in some races it was 6 figures, other races it was just 5 figures, dumping that money into these races. A lot of these races were not competitive in the primary, so it's kind of gratuitous money that is being spent. Like Brett Ligon, Brett Ligon, he didn't have a competitive primary, yet money was spent in this. Are these members just expected to pull the lever for Meta I'll phrase it this way, is Meta just expecting these members to pull the lever for them because they dumped in some money that wasn't asked for? in these races. Like, I'm politically speaking, I'm not sure what the calculus is here, other than just sending money into the district and hoping it helps you down the road, lobby wise. What's the incentive for these members to do that?
It's not a bad introduction, you know.
Sure, there are worse introductions, but it's not really a particularly compelling one, especially if you're a member whose district is facing a lot of opposition to data center projects that are coming into play. I don't see the logic in expecting this to be a successful maneuver. It might be the start of a broader maneuver, but if I'm a rural member and I have a bunch of constituents mad about a data center coming in, I had no primary or very little primary, and then Meta dumps mailers into the district that I didn't ask for. What's my incentive to do what they want?
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see it right now.
Well, and we definitely see some lawmakers already being pretty aggressive in their opposition. Like at that Missouri County Commissioners meeting, State Rep Cody Vasut there and testified against it.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, okay. He was there and very much urged the commissioners not to give the tax incentive to them. Now, he said, I don't know if there's anything this body can do to actually stop it outright, but we can at least not give them taxpayer-backed incentives.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, people are definitely they're in the process of reaching their opinions on this stuff. And it, you know, along with water, along with sports betting, along with gambling, along with property tax, you know, are definitely going to be things that are fought over pretty aggressively, I think, this cycle.
Last thing I want to add on this is that the state leaders have touted for a long time the growth that the state has experienced economically, but also population, and for good reason. Like, it has brought a lot of wealth into the state, a lot of success, but it comes with trade-offs and negative externalities that have kind of been whispered about for years. You know, the state leaders are shouting from the rooftops the benefits of this growth, and then either they whisper or they outright ignore the consequences of it. And now the rubber's starting to meet the road on this. A lot of the resources are being stretched thin, or at least the projections into the future are stretched thin. So now they're having to start to address these after a couple decades of just massive growth. And so this was going to happen. The time was going to come for this, and now it's here. And the data centers are one example, but a really prolific example of this. And we, you know, listen, the way we live our lives, increasingly, we have to have these things, and they have to go somewhere. It smacks in my mind.
Nobody wants it in their backyard.
But nobody wants it in their backyard. It really reminds me a lot of the intermittent fights over the location of waste dumps, whether it's the nuclear waste dumps or just oil and gas waste dumps or just dumps. There's a benefit to them, and we get a lot of benefit from the products that create the waste. But if you're going to create waste, you have to put it somewhere. If we're going to live our lives more and more on this thing, we have to put the data centers somewhere. And on the flip side, though, I don't blame anybody for not wanting it in their backyard, because I would hate it too. So
they're also loud. That's something. All the like cooling fans and stuff. So it's it'll be something. A situation we will monitor closely.
We're going to be doing a lot of monitoring of that situation.
Yeah.
Going forward, and the legislature will have to figure out what the heck to do. So
glad it's not us making the decisions.
I find myself saying that a lot. Yes, absolutely. We get to just sit here and talk about it. We don't have to get into the nitty-gritty details of policy making. But you know what? That's what you get when you run for office. You have to make these decisions. So, anything else you want to add before we go?
No.
Ready to go eat some crawfish?
Ready to go eat some crawfish and enjoy a beautiful day.
Yeah. Well, give us a like and review if it's a good one.
If it's a good one, if not,
on
then
all the
just
podcast apps.
walk away.
Walk away.
Walk away slowly.
Back away from the podcast.
Be sure to go to texasbullpen.com, subscribe, so that you get our morning emails. I mean, really is your one-stop shop for Texas politics. Everything you need to know, 10 minutes or less. And I hope you enjoy the podcast. Join us next week and enjoy the weekend.
And we'll keep you posted on the waffle challenge.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks, y'all.